Well, now the 80s, and it's time to take out the crystal ball and try to predict some of the changes which will affect life in our valley in the next 10 years. It's going to be a time of tremendous change. The chances are that by the end of the 80s, we'll hardly recognise our valley or the way of life of its people. We'll see lots of industrial development and positive signs of growth. We'll face many challenges, and we're going to have to be very adaptable to change. There's no doubt that the future of this valley and this city will be closely linked to our plentiful resources of coal. Coal will have two major impacts, one as an export commodity, and the other as a source of energy for our own industry and transport. We may again see coal-powered ships and locomotives, although the new generation will be very different from the dirty, polluting steam engines of the past. And while all of this is going on in and around the port, there'll be plenty of development going on at the other end of the line. One of the most significant developments in the field of railways will be the construction, after 50 years of delays, of the line west from Sandy Hollow. The other big use of coal will be in the generation of electric power, and this is where the really big money is going to be spent in the next few years. So the mine can scarcely cope with the concept of spending thousands of millions of dollars to double or possibly more our electricity generating capacity. One of the major reasons for rushing ahead with this growth is the expected boom in the building of aluminium smelters in this area. The Hunter Valley has suddenly become highly desirable as a centre for aluminium production, and there are several reasons. The first is our abundant potential in electricity. The smelting process requires huge amounts of it, and also good access to sea and rail transport, both for the bringing in of raw materials and the dispatch of the product. The multinational companies also look for countries which are politically stable. Many of the countries which were smelting nations in the past relied on oil for power generation, and the companies see oil as a highly volatile commodity in more ways than one. And a third company, Comalco, is evaluating the prospects of building yet another smelter, this one at a cost of around $440 million. There's also going to be another major change in the district's energy supplies early in the 1980s, the coming of natural gas. Work has begun on the construction of a pipeline between Sydney and Newcastle to bring natural gas to the area. $70 million is the bill. But there may be a more important reason for the oil pipeline. It may well be that before the 80s are out, oil will be flowing back down that line from Newcastle to Sydney, oil made from bountiful Hunter Valley coal. Other industries, big and small, have development plans in the pipeline. In fact, talking to industry leaders, one repeatedly comes across a feeling of hope or perhaps even confidence that the future is going to be better. Now let's take a look at the future of transport. It's a sign of how concerned politicians are about the future of our oil supplies and how much they're looking to coal to fill the gap. But despite this, the great Australian love affair with the motor car will continue to develop. What will tomorrow's cars be like? Jim Sullivan.
I can tell you what you won't be driving in 10 years' time. It won't be a radical electric car. It won't be powered by a fuel cell or be nuclear powered or anything else from the realm of science fiction. In fact, the cars that will be popular in 1989 will be probably fairly much like the Honda Accord, a fairly slick shape and an efficient engine. I think that's typical of the trend that we'll see over the next 10 years. In fact, while we might speculate on what those cars will look like, they're already on the drawing boards of the major manufacturers. And in fact, those manufacturers will be too busy trying to squeeze the most out of every litre of petrol to worry too much about changing body shapes. They'll look at body structure and they'll try and make it lighter because that saves fuel. They'll probably look at components like bumper bars and make those lighter, perhaps even out of plastic. Suspension components could even be out of plastic as well. But the whole emphasis will be on improving the efficiency of engines. The most popular engine will be a 4-cylinder, probably between 1600 cc's and 2 litres. But that's not to say that some of the larger engines won't survive with fuel-saving devices such as turbochargers, or even the ability to switch off, say, 2 of 6 cylinders when they're not needed. Transmissions will get some attention. We'll probably see more multi-speed gearboxes, 5-speed gearboxes, and perhaps automatics that operate over a narrow power range so the engine can again be more efficient. Diesels will become more popular, but before that can happen there'll have to be a change in Australia's refinery capacity, because at the moment, if there was a single volume selling diesel car, there wouldn't be enough diesel to go around.
The city itself will change almost beyond recognition in the next decade, and it'll cost many millions to do it. Let's look at some of the projects already underway. And Hunter Street, what will it look like? Will there still be a mall? Decisions taken in recent months probably mean that the answer is yes. So there are plenty of reasons already to believe that the city will look very different in a few years' time. It wouldn't be possible to list all the known developments in the private sector, let alone that which isn't known, nor have we touched on the suburbs and surrounding cities and towns, or the Central Coast with its vast potential. Suffice to say that it all adds up to a very promising few years. The things we've listed so far total more than $4,000 million, and that's a huge vote of confidence in the region. What will it all mean for employment prospects? Well, it's hard to be precise, but there will be opportunities for unskilled, semi-skilled, skilled and specialist labour. There are going to have to be changes in attitudes by employers and unions to get the best out of the future. A lot of good work has already been done in getting management and labour together to work for a common goal of prosperity. The region's industrial image is gradually improving, largely due to rational thinking and exchanges of opinion between unions and employers. So there is every reason to be optimistic about our industrial and commercial future. We could go on, but I think we've rounded up a sufficiently representative sample of what's on the agenda to be able to say with a great deal of confidence, now the 80s.